Hey, I'm Sean,
Hi, and I'm Shannon.
and we're the host of Wifey and Baby Mama. Happy Thursday, family. As always, we're excited to be with you guys another week, and we're going to get right into this. This week's episode is titled You Can't Reign Without Responsibility. Oh, yeah. Y'all better buckle up
Mm.
for this one. So, on our,
Yes.
all right, buckle up. So, on our premiere episode last week, we discussed leading and submission, and it was for the most part geared for married couples, being, because like we just mentioned, leading and submission doesn't apply at the dating stage, right? Well, reigning without responsibility kind of does. It definitely does. It certainly
Hmm.
applies in marriages as well. But as we've stated, dating that is geared toward marriage should be where we work out all the values, the likes, the dislikes, the finances,
Hmm.
all that good stuff. Now, we're fully aware everyone is not dating to marry. So some are just having fun, some are just expanding their social circle, some are just, getting to know different people, whatever. We get it. However, after a certain age, or just whenever two people decide, hey, I'm ready to take the next step,
Hmm.
then here's where tonight's topic will hopefully come in handy. So, and if we date properly, those points that we shared, these points that we share tonight and those points that we shared in our previous episodes shouldn't be something that spills over into a marriage. But we know sometimes, like Shannon and myself, we're not all together. When we take those vows and
Uh-huh.
we got to work double to get our partners to understand and for us to even understand each other and understand things like a man ought to know. So during tonight's dialogue, like I said, hopefully we can touch on a few things to help you guys out, especially if kids are involved. Because not only are the two partners men in your lives, those babies will be adjusting to something new as well.
Right. Exactly. So when you come into um on the dating scene, if you're dating with intention, you know what you want, he knows what he wants. You have to be honest about what you think your marriage is going to be about. And I know a lot of people when when you're dating, you want to, I guess, put your representative out there or your best foot forward, and you're not really speaking your mind, and then you get in these marriages and you realize, wait a minute, why am I carrying all the load? That's because you didn't discuss these things
In the
beforehand.
first
So
place.
there's a exactly. So you have to be real when you're dating with intention. If you know what you want, don't act like you don't, and be honest. So what if he's like, nah, I'm turned off by her because she's saying she wants this, that, or whatever. That doesn't make you a gold digger. Let's not get it twisted with that, because some people say, oh, you're just looking for looking for someone with money. No, you're looking for someone that you can build with. And if you're the only builder, you're the only one laying the bricks, you need to know
House
that
shall
before you
fall.
walk down. Exactly.
Right.
Mhm.
Now, the first, that's a good perspective. And the first thing I want to say, Shannon, is kind of opposite to what you said. We don't want it to be a financial ego angle on the man's behalf either. When a new
Oh,
man comes into a
right,
woman's
right,
life, and he makes a significant amount of money, and it's clear he'll be the primary breadwinner or financier of the home. That doesn't qualify him to make all the calls and, to make all the rules and run things with an iron fist. Money doesn't mean you're
mhm,
in charge solely. Decisions and
right,
choices still should be a mutual act, no matter how the money's looking, because
mhm,
that woman is already accustomed to her own way of doing things before you met. And if children are involved, therein, that mom and those kids will have an order or an understanding. So it doesn't matter if you're the man or what your bank account looks like.
right,
You have the responsibility to still sit down with your partner and come to a common conclusion of how a house will be ran. Your finances exclusively doesn't give you a right to exclude feelings.
yeah, yeah. And I know so many women. I work in technology, and so many people I work with are, well off women, single women, and they're looking for that man that, you know, makes more than they do. I've heard it so many times from, friends of mine single friends of mine who are looking for that special someone, but they refuse to go with someone who makes less than they do. And my thing is, as long as that man is working, if he is, his nose is to the grindstone, he ain't sitting around waiting on you to support him, you know, partner with him. If his heart is pure, you recognize that this is a good man, regardless of if his paycheck, comes nowhere near yours. It's okay. That's not what we're saying tonight. We're not saying you got to go find someone that can outdo you. Make
That's
sure
right.
that you're looking at someone's heart and their intent and their integrity and everything that comes along with someone that may have a job that makes $100,000 less than you. So what? He's working every day. He's putting in what he can put in, and not, disregard those individuals, because I hear that so much, and it's disheartening to me because I'm thinking about these women that are out here refusing, um, to settle or not settle or accept a good man because their goal is whatever their goal is. Hey, I want, the Mr. Big scenario from, Sex in the City. I don't know if everyone knows that reference, but
Yeah.
you're wanting that mega whatever, when you can build that. You can take
I think
whatever he's doing and what you're doing and make something out of it.
yeah, I think a more modern reference than Mr. Big. That was back in our day. Now it's 50 Shades of Grey. Remember
Ah,
Christian
okay.
Grey? The
Yes,
girl's looking for
yes.
a Christian Grey, just somebody can drop the dollars off but look how he wanted women to be like basically slaves, sex slaves to him.
Slaves.
But
Mhm.
what you're saying reminds me of a point of the movie Daddy's Little Girl. I don't know if we've talked about that on this show. I don't know if you ever saw it. I think we did a fictional family. I did, but he was
Yes, you
Idris
did.
Elba. He was a remember he was a
Mhm.
mechanic, and he
Yeah,
just had
yeah.
three daughters. The mother really didn't want him. The grandmother was raising him. Then she passed, so he was forced to, not forced, but it came back to him. He wasn't ready to be a single father, but he had to be. Sometimes we got to
Mhm.
just stand up, right? And
Right.
he met Gabrielle Union, and she was this corporate, big time attorney, and she made well into the six figures, and her friends were setting up on all these blind dates. Like, just try this and try that one. So he was like taking a second job to support his kids, and he met her, and she took it on his case, and they became, fell in love, and then her friends ridiculed her. Now they were setting her up to go on blind dates where it was potential to run into a serial killer, but it wasn't okay to date, a regular everyday mechanic with three
Mhm.
kids because he just
Mhm.
wasn't up to their standards. But thank God in the end she did the right thing and made me proud, and they got together and it was all loving hunky dory. But seriously, you can't let that stop you. That can't be it. And but besides finances, Shannon, I'll take it to another angle, personal angle. In my case, it wasn't finances, but because my husband was coming back for the second time, we were getting back together. I was almost 40 with three kids and twice divorced. I had the finances figured out.
Mhm.
It was all me. But once we
Mhm.
started dating, his thing was, well, no matter if I did have the finances, if I was doing everything, I'm the man. So, it's gonna get done this way. Wait, hold up, pump your brakes, sir. You haven't paid one mortgage payment, sir. You have not paid one light
Right.
bill. You ain't even filled
Right.
my car up yet.
Right.
But you got rules. I need you to have self receipts, boo. So
Mhm.
now
Mhm.
we had to come to come to Jesus a couple of times. But now, Shannon, some of the stuff he was saying, most of it was right most of the time. But as a single mom, sometimes I overcompensated for my kids. Like for instance, I work
Right.
an hour from home, right? And some days I would get off late and I didn't want to cook, or some days I just didn't cook because girl, that's a challenge. I'm not that good. But anyways, I would just get takeout. Now these little girls wouldn't pick one place. They would have me go to three different restaurants, Shannon. And out of guilt,
Wow.
because I worked so much, I know, right? I would do
Mhm.
it. So my husband
Mhm.
happened to be visiting me in Alabama one week before we were married again. And, we get in the car and they started saying, I want this, I want that. And finally I get to the oldest and she wants KFC. But when we get to KFC, they don't have what she wants. So I said, could you just choose something else? Like I'm really tired and I've been to two other places. And she's like, no. So girl, I start my car up and Jimmy, he said, what are you doing? I said, I'm just gonna go somewhere else. I just don't have time for it. He's like, no. stop the car. So I put the car. No, I'm like, no, I said, it's fine. He's like, listen, stop the car. He said it a little more firmly. Got through that car and parked so fast. He turned around. He said, listen, your mother is tired, she's tired. And that's a
Mhm.
little inconsiderate,
Mhm.
what you guys are doing. And then he turned around and told all of them, this won't ever happen again. This is unfair to your mom. And I just
Wow.
sat there sobbing,
Mhm.
Shannon. Like, I knew he
Mhm.
was right, but I had never
Mhm.
had the heart to say to them, like seriously, guys, because like
Right.
I said, I worked so
Yeah.
much, I felt guilty. But I also
Mhm.
knew that they were gonna feel like, "You don't let this dude fly down here for a week trying to tell us what to do." No. Now, mind you, our oldest daughter is his biological child, right?
Is it?
And he's
Right.
and he's always been very active with the other two. You know that from the book. So
Mhm. Oh,
it's not like
yeah.
he's just some strange guy. But I knew
Mhm.
everybody was gonna have an attitude, and as soon as he left, it was like, girl. Now he wasn't contributing financially. We had not discussed that at the time. We were just like really dating. But
Right.
in that moment, it was just common sense and it needed to be said. You know what
Mhm.
I mean? So whether
Mhm.
he was paying
Yeah.
bills or not, that was something. And because I was into church and I was like, he's right. And so sometimes we
Mhm.
can't mix the two. It doesn't matter if he's paying a bill or not. Like right is right. And if that person, loves you,
Right.
they're gonna defend you. So yeah, that's just a
Mhm.
different angle, I had
Mhm.
to put on that. Now.
Right. Yeah. And there comes a time too, in marriage or in just life in general, if there's a situation that arises where you can't work, he can't work or you can't work or
Hmm.
somebody isn't able, then of
Right.
course that's where your vows kick in for better, for worse, or whatever, rich or
That's right.
poor,
That's right.
sickness and health. And then you
Absolutely.
step in. But if you're both able bodied people and you've gone into it with intention,
Hmm.
and having the discussion, you know, this is how I see finance. And a lot of young people can't have those hard conversations because they are hard to
That's right.
have.
They are.
Like even asking someone, what's your credit score?
Right.
But I got married late in life. So me and my husband, we had these discussions, before going in, because we were old. So I think that made
Right.
it a lot easier too.
But
It's
for the
like,
most part, it's
wait a
not it's
minute.
not yeah, it's not conducive. It's not really a natural thing to get married at 50. We
Right.
date for a
Yeah,
little
yeah,
while in
yes.
our early 20s is that's really what we're shooting for. But in my
Yes,
case,
yes, yes.
I done had 3 marriages before 50. So everything ain't convenient, everything is not,
Right, right,
everything is
right.
not book by book and word by word, but I get what you're
Mhm.
saying. It's hard
Yeah.
conversations. But now you said if someone's hurt and they can't work, but let's do the flip side of that, or someone is just choosing not to do so. Once he and I decided to get married and
Woo.
I moved back to Buffalo, now he's in home with me, right? And he's considered my other half,
Mhm,
right? So he
mhm.
passing out rules and laying down laws like it ain't nobody business. The only problem at that time was you staying out all night on your motorcycle to 4, 5 in the morning, You ain't coming to church with the family. You living your best life, right? Well,
Mhm.
I'm pretty much taking care of all the major things
Yeah, yeah,
that a man ought to know,
yeah.
you know,
Right.
that he should be doing. So how do you think
Mhm,
that went? Okay, these girls were young adults at this point. You
mhm.
can't demand order and want to reign as the king of the palace when you're out of line. Now, don't miss me.
Right.
Children should never be disrespectful or disobedient, no matter what's going on. But they were
Mhm.
all like, meaning he on one side and they on the other side looking at me like he like, oh, you letting them say this, and they like, oh, he can't tell us what to do. He just came home. What the hell you mean? We got to go to bed 11. He don't come home to 5 in the morning. So
Mhm, mhm.
in these heated moments, Shannon, they're both looking at me. He's like, oh, you gonna let him disrespect me? And they looking at me like, you letting this dude tell us what he ain't even doing right. So it just kept me in a constant tug of war, right, with him and the kids,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
you can believe they just not going for anything, and they shouldn't. I mean, them
Right.
being children don't mean they don't have a right to say, "Hey, mom, we feel this is wrong or unfair," whatever,
Mhm,
because they have eyes
mhm,
and they have ears, and just like that partner loves you, those kids love you too. And any kids who
mhm.
have close connections with their parents, especially in a single parent home, they don't play that. Now, when you're all they
Exactly.
have, they feel like if mama got beef, we got beef, okay? So
Mhm.
again, when you're blending these families and when when you want to have responsibility, when you want to reign with it, it all come together, be in order.
Mhm. Yeah, and I remember when, me and my husband first started dating, my son,
Mhm.
he was a little apprehensive and he's like, "Oh, he's just with you for the money." And he was calling Buffalo, telling all these different stories about him and, "Oh, he's with my mom for her money."
And being a boy, I know you
And
had
I'm
it
like,
rough.
"Oh my gosh." I'm like, "Well,
I had daughters at
it's
least
so."
at the time.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, Jay is very, very overprotective of me. Um, but he never got in the way of dating. He always wanted me to be with someone. But
He
when
just
it
wanted to be
came
sure you were
to
being treated right.
exactly, exactly. So he had to see, and over the years, of course, I've been married 5 years, but with Will for 7. So he's seen for the last 7 years how this man works. He's up at 3:30 every morning and he's a truck driver. So he is on the road. Sometimes he doesn't get home till 7, 8 o'clock at night. But he is home every day and he calls me 50 times a day. And so it took my son seeing that and realizing, yeah, my mother might make a little bit more money, just a little bit, you know.
But
Um,
he treats her right.
exactly, exactly. So there's a mutual respect there between the two of them now. Um, but I'm sure he wasn't the only one that thought that. I'm sure other
Right.
family members thought the same, but they weren't ever going to say anything to me. My son, of
Right.
course, would because he is my son,
Right.
but
Mhm.
no one else would. And I think about, uh, a friend of mine, I'm not going to call any names, who was married, been married for many, many years, 30 plus years, 2 children, and her husband never worked. Never, ever, ever, ever. And she's a VP and, high up in corporate America, makes, probably 3 to 400,000 a year. And whenever we would be in social situations and he'd have to meet new people, the first thing out of his mouth was, "I don't work." He put that out there right away because they're going to say, "Hey, what do you do?" And so he put it out there and he bragged, "Oh yeah, yeah, she takes care of me. I'm a house husband, blah 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 blah." And that worked for them for whatever reason. It worked for them. So if that was their mutual agreement, so
Before
be
they
it.
got married,
I
that's their
I
business.
I Yes, exactly, exactly. So if that's what you want, I don't see very many people wanting that, and they're the only couple that I've met so far that are like that. Because it's not like he was a house husband. Because well, at this point the kids were, almost going to college because they've been married so long. So it's like, okay, now you can get a job, or whatever. But no, still to this day, it's like, no, he's never worked. But in
I
saying that, the balance is off because just like we talked about last week, you can have those women that are so dominant and they run everything and that's their house. She is the boss. Everything is her way, done how she wants it because she holds the purse strings. So when
Yep,
you think about finances, it's not just about the come up or the gold digger or the what you don't get. It's about balance. And
absolutely.
the man is supposed to be the provider, and if he can't provide, totally, if it's the two of you putting your money into the pot, which is what me and my husband do, we don't have separate anything. Everything just goes into one pot and we pull from the same pot, whatever.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
that don't always work for people either. I have friends where they have separate accounts and then one joint account or whatever. Whatever works for
Right.
you. All I'm saying is if there is only one pot and only one person putting into the pot, then that one person, like my coworker, she's in control. And to
And
me,
like you said, that
that's
throws off
that's not
balance.
balance. Mhm.
Yep, it throws off balance.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
And like I said, if that works for them, it works for them. If your kids, say if you had 5 kids when you met Will and they said we ain't listening, you said my kids don't gotta listen because I make the most money. That works for y'all. That works for y'all. But in my
Mm.
situation, I had to pray and use wisdom, that God turned it around
Right.
because, baby, it
Right.
got live in my house a few
Yeah.
times. When children are of age, although we are the parents,
Mhm.
you got to still be mindful
Mhm.
of what you say and do around
Right.
them. So
Right.
over the years, we just learned, from some great counselors that we've had around us, and especially this last marriage. And it's advice we feel compelled to give all the time. Just address things and lead with love. So
Mhm.
I pray constantly to bring order, and that's what blended families, especially general families are hard, right? But blended families,
Right.
the enemy despises
Yes.
family at all. But
At all.
especially the ones that
Mhm.
are covered by leading and serving, and blended families, like
Mhm.
I said, you adding another layer. So you're not
Mhm.
just fighting physical things and personality. It's also spirit. It's a spirit of divide and destruction because it has that you not my
Right.
daddy, you not my mama. So that takes extra prayer,
Mhm.
right? So you got to
Yeah.
definitely make sure
Yeah.
you're reigning with responsibility when you're trying to run a household in that way. And it can work. It can be done. I'm a living
Mhm.
witness. So,
Mhm.
hey, whatever floats your boats. But we're just telling you uh, how we're just not telling you. We're just trying to put out what order worked in our house and the orders we've seen in other people in other scenarios. Hey, what works, what don't, but whatever floats your boat. But I know one
Mhm.
thing. Prayer works for me. Order works for me, Shannon. I don't know
Yeah.
about nobody
Yeah.
else. You have any
Yeah.
parting words on this topic?
Well, I got one more scenario I want to
Hmm.
just touch on too. So there
Okay.
is a another uh friend. I wish I could call names. I wish they were actually here, guest on the show. But
Right.
anyway, they're married for a long time. They were married for, I don't know, 15 plus years. And the husband felt a calling to do something to where he would leave his corporate job.
Uh-huh.
And they prayed about it and said, okay, this is what we're going to do because he needs to be full time in ministry, even though there's no money in that right now. And I remember speaking to her and telling her, that's all well and good. I know you're saying God is telling you to go this route, but I can tell you right now, I can tell you now, when he's not working, you're going to see him differently. You're going to look at him differently. And her response was, no, I won't. No, I won't. That's my husband. I love him, blah, 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 blah. And so they went on through it after she said, "Yeah, we prayed enough about this. Let's just do this." And they did it. And he would come home from his ministry work, and while she's working, being the sole breadwinner, and eventually it started to eat away at her because he'd come home with all these wonderful stories about how he laughed it up with this person. Yeah, I ministered this. We had a good old time today, or whatever. And, something started to creep into her spirit. And within, I don't know, less than a year, they were signing divorce papers.
No
And I don't know
way.
if that was, yeah, and I don't know if that was the full reason why, but of course, I'm sure there was other things there that we on the outside looking in don't know about, but she did start to look at him differently, exactly as I said, because no one wants a man, even if he's out here doing great works, even if he's out here saving souls or whatever he's doing.
But let me tell you, when
If you're
God calls
carrying
you
the
though, Shannon,
Mhm.
yeah, when
Yeah,
God calls you though, he equips. When God calls you, he provides. So, I'm not
right.
saying he wasn't called or not, but I'm just saying if God would have really put that in her heart, he would have made financial provisions that family didn't even feel it. I've seen it
Mhm.
happen. I'm not saying he
Mhm.
wasn't called. I don't know the people. I'm just
Yeah,
just feeding
yeah,
off your
yeah.
story. So maybe, maybe that's something she was like, hold on, somebody done lied to me. I don't know what dream. Maybe he just tried to get out of work. I don't know what conclusion girlfriend came to, but I know, and I also know of story you hear about TD Jakes and people who started their own ministry that have storefronts that starve, that they gas off, they lights off, but they
Oh,
doing it,
right,
and look
right.
at them now. So you got to
Yeah,
also have that
yeah,
solid foundation because baby
yeah.
Sarita be up in every show, baby, with her stuff on, okay? So they still
Yeah.
together, but you hear him tell those stories. So I just, you just never know. Like you said, when you're actually not there, you don't know what the root cause is. But
Right, right.
I don't know. Did you have anything else to say? Because I'm saying, like, I hope we've made it clear. That's a prime example to
Yes.
wrap up with of why it can't work. You know,
Mhm.
Reigning without responsibility will never work because you got to be able to still carry your load. But
That's right.
if you're willing to change, things about yourselves, or things can find their way, because you gave your example, and then I just told you about TD Jakes and Sarita. I hear him say all the time how his
Mhm.
lights was off. He can
Mhm.
tell his kid they had no food, but God made a way. So you can
Yes,
get on a
yes.
smooth course, family. You can find your way, but by staying
Right.
respectful, leading in love. But men, it's
Mhm.
imperative to remember it's impossible to want to peacefully reign, in a situation
Mhm.
without doing the simple things a man ought to know when it comes to running a family and home. Yeah.
Right.
So all right. So,
Awesome.
girl, let's move into our audience invite.
Our audience invite.
All right. We start this segment, of course, with giving the name of our last week's songs before we go into anything else, and invite you guys to hit us up. And unfortunately, no one guessed it for the win for last week. So I'll go ahead and give it to you. The title was On the Daily, and the artist is none other
Yes.
than the most lit young man of this era, Mr. Carrington Gaines, who's also our nephew, but
Our
now
nephew. Love
I'm
you.
not love you, P. I'm not kidding when I tell you though, the little boy lit, y'all. He's lit. He's a grown man with
Yes,
a
he
wife
is.
and a baby, but he's still my little baby. And not just because he's family. He really has some hits
Right.
on his hands. So he just received
Mhm.
an award at the BMIs a few months ago for a song he wrote for
Mhm.
Maverick City. I think it was Promises, Shannon. Am I right? I think it was
I think
Promises. Don't
so.
quote me, y'all. But yeah, he just received the BMI. So get with our nephew, like some of the other greats. He was amongst some of the greats at the BMI. So since we're his
Yeah.
aunties, we're going to run a little of this song on the daily, which applies to
Yes.
last week's episode in a sense that temptation will rise on the daily. But if
On
you're
the
leaning
daily.
and submitting to the word, you get through it. Yeah, Shannon, let's spin a little bit of it
Here's
for him.
a little bit of Carrington Game.
On the
Carrington
daily.
Game.
On the daily, I face so many adversities. No matter what I do, they judge me. On the daily, temptation finds me. On the daily, yeah, yeah. I can lie, I can lie, I can lie. Sometimes I wanna give into that life. On the daily, I'm faced with so many things on the daily.
Hey, I could
All
listen to
right.
the whole song, y'all. Had me up here
Yes.
rocking. Y'all know.
That's our
Nephew.
nephew.
Our nephew, baby.
Yes.
All right, so there you have it, Shannon. I mean, we only got 30 minutes, y'all, so we gotta go. But I
Yeah.
would like for you all to go listen to it. That's my joint. But y'all know the
Yes.
rules. You gotta listen to it on your own. And while you're at it, feel free to listen to the rest of Carrington's Carrington Gaines is his name on all platforms. The young man got some pipes. Y'all look out for him. He's on the rise.
Yes, he
And I
does.
also hope you were looking out and listening tonight to the lines I dropped repeatedly during our episode. So if you were, and you can send us the title or artist of tonight's melody, not the song we just played. I said the lines throughout tonight's episode. So that's how it's going to work. I'll give you it. So you got till next Thursday to hit us up at wifeyandbabymama at gmail.com. That's wifeyandbabymama at gmail.com. Hit us up with the line I dropped tonight if you can figure out the artist or the song. We'll take either one. And you also feel free to leave any suggestions, comments, complaints, praises. We take it all, baby. We're here for it all.
That's
All right, baby
right.
mama.
That's
You can
right.
take us to the fictional family, girlfriend. You got it.
Okay. Let's go. The fictional family I'm feeling tonight comes from another old show, Married with Children. And I'm not talking about the Bundys this time. I'm talking about the Darcys. So, when Marcy married Jefferson and um, they got drunk and got married. They didn't even know who they were, or whatever. And then she's over the next day talking to Peg, and and her new husband's on the couch with Al, and they're talking. So she's in the kitchen and she's telling Peg, she's like, I don't even know who I married. I don't even know who my husband is. And Peg's like, who cares? Why do you need to know? It's best not to know who they are. You have a better marriage if you don't know. who they are. Look at him. He's gorgeous. He's fine. He's hot. He's this and that or whatever. Why would you want to get to know him? And
All the wrong advice, by the way.
all the wrong advice. Like, yeah, based off of looks. That's all you need are looks. And how many of us have done that? Gotten with someone just
Right.
off of looks. But uh so she's Darcy says, I'm sorry, Marcy says to Peg, well, I don't even know who I am or whatever. And she turns to him, she says, what's your last name? And he says, Darcy, which is what I just slipped and said. And she says, Marcy, Darcy. Says, now I sound like a cartoon character. And so her new husband comes up and he's asking her, and he's like, what's wrong? What's wrong? She says, well, besides the fact that I sound like my name now is a cartoon character name, she says, we got married and I don't even remember it because they were so drunk. And he says, what? Okay, then how about we have the best wedding we can afford? He immediately says we. They've been married one day. Let's have the best wedding we can afford so that you can have the memorable day that you want. And she's like, oh, that's awesome. She says, okay, I have $2,000 in savings. And he says, oh, that's great. And he pulls out his wallet. He opens his wallet and he says, okay, that makes $2,040. So not only did she not know who she married, she married this fine, hot looking dude, but he has $40 and he's willing to take her 2,000 to give her the day that she
The
wanted.
best wedding she ever had.
So she could, fund the best wedding or whatever to show something for her to remember. My whole point is know who you're marrying. Have those
That's it.
tough conversations. So you're not marrying someone with $40 unless you want to marry someone with $40. You
Baby,
would
don't
have
nobody
known
want
going in.
$40. And not for no marriage. $40 get you one night these days. Ain't gonna get you no marriage, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
Right, right. But if you're like some people where that's you want that hot guy, you want that guy, he looks good and whatever, and you'll take him and give him your 2,000 and let him keep his $40 or whatever. So anyway, so
Depends
the
on what you want.
Darcys depends on what you want. So
But that ain't
that
it for
is
most of us.
right. Exactly. Exactly. Especially if you want to, build something. Not
That's
saying
right.
everyone has to be that power couple or whatever, but I would
Not it.
hope that you would not want to be in a situation where you're in survival mode all the time. Let's think about success versus
Let's
survival.
have
And I've
some
said it times.
responsibility if we want to reign.
Mhm.
That's all we're saying here.
Exactly.
That's
Yeah.
right.
So that
Success over
is the
survival.
fictional family. Right. So
Great
that is the
fictional
fictional
family,
family that
girlfriend.
I've been. Ah, thank you,
Awesome.
thank you. So that is the end of our um, topic tonight, and we thank you all for joining, and we look forward to
Yes.
next week.
Until next week. Love you all.
Uh,
Bye.
I'm